Yeah, I'm on my second time recording this video. I went off tangent like right away, but it's your boy Jimmy, and I wanted to make a video about like I think I already recorded one. I was like, damn, it's been 9 days, and I was thinking about the other day. I was like, shit, because like I ended up playing like Elden Ring and like Dark Souls, and I beat those games, and I'm like, shit, like I got like super addicted to these Souls games because like it was like pretty bad. Like I spent like I think I already mentioned like I spent like I've probably put in like 300 hours in the past like fucking month into Dark Souls and like Souls like games, and like these games are amazing. And I'm playing Lies of P, and then I'm gonna be done for a while once I beat Lies of P, of course. But like that's a good game. It's a Souls like game, and that's probably the best like Souls like game you could play that's not Dark Souls, or Elden Ring or Bloodborne. But like, yeah, I've been playing those fun. But I want to make a video that's more comprehensive on those subjects because like it's hard to explain that game to people, I guess. But it's fun. But anyways, uh I was watching like a video yesterday, and it was about like a psychiatric nurse, and she was talking about. Cause I thought it was pretty interesting because I don't know a lot about like the psychiatric side except for like inpatient stuff, or my outpatient stuff. But like inpatient psychiatry is a whole different ballgame, and like 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 people will talk to this. She was talking about how like other people like deal with like really bad days, and like their worst days are like dealing with someone who nothing happened, like like my boss yelled at me, or like I'm not getting along with this person at work and stuff like that. Um and like I get it, people have like different like subjects on that kind of stuff, and like people deal with like whatever. And like she mentioned like like her worst days are like when people die at work and like that kind of stuff, like seeing a kid die, and it that it's horrible, right? And it is. So I mean, like as you've kind of seen that. And but it's hard. And like I'm not, nurses are like absolutely like the hardest workers probably on this fucking planet. I mean, they have to see, they're the ones that are in contact with patients constantly. The same thing with like people who work in a hospital or EMTs and all that, paramedics. Like they deal with some crazy shit, right? They have to, you know, and like I'm like thinking about that stuff, and I was specifically talking about like, uh, I remember like earlier this year, um, this person I was kind of talking to, and like we were at the gym together, and she was like telling me about her day, and like, and I remember specifically something like like some patient stuff happened earlier, and like like she was telling me like like she's like telling me how much she fucking hates her boss, and like how much like of a B word she is. And then like I was like, oh cool. I'm like, and I'm like thinking about that. I'm like, it's not that bad. I'm like, I get it. Like people deal with like some shitty work bosses and stuff like that, and like you hear that, and I'm like, oh, I guess in my head, because like the way that I think of it, like the worst things I see in people are like when fucking someone dies, right? Or they have like some crazy shit happen to them, because I've already seen some fucking crazy shit that I'm not supposed to see, right? And like she I was just like, okay. And then whatever, like people deal with their own stuff, and like she was dealing with her own stuff too, and like I don't know her whole story, but like that kind of stuff, I'm like, I don't particularly like hearing that. I guess because like when I hear people like bitch about like that kind of stuff, it's like that's not that bad. I'm like, why are you complaining about some dumb shit like like that? You don't have to like. But I get it, people deal with their own shit, and like the way that they're able to handle things is completely different to me. So she she that whatever, I thought it was dumb, and it was a whatever, people like I don't even know what I'm saying now. But I'm like thinking about like something like that, like I used to work in a unit as a CNA, and I worked in a unit it was practically hospice, and most people a good amount of people were on like their deathbeds, or like, you know, they pretty close to dying. And also, you know, like the other thing is like the unit that I was in, like it was weird because it's supposed to be like a neuro unit, but it really wasn't. And you know, I worked as a CNA, and I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't that great, but I just like, I was smart. Like I could understand things from a medical like smart thing. I wasn't that good of a CNA because like I wasn't trained as a CNA. I was trained as an EMT. So you know, like I kind of had to learn on the job, like changing people, you know, like cleaning people and all that stuff. That was hard. That's hard. That's fucking hard, right? And then like some of these nurses and like CNAs have to do it themselves, but like I did that job. That job was fucking difficult. That was definitely one of the hardest jobs I've ever done. Like it's not fun. Well, I mean, I don't know. To me, it was interesting because like I'm interested in like the science medical portion of it. So it's like, yeah, that's cool. And you know, like, because most of the people that we, like I said, were on hospice or they were on comfort care, and then we'd always have people with like I was in contact with people with TB and all that stuff because like the unit that I was in was like the COVID unit, and that's where they, you know, all the rooms were like zero pressure because like some of them were like kind of makeshift, and they also had like few zero pressure rooms, so that's where they'll put people like with TB in there normally, most of the time, like something like that. It's like it's mostly that COVID, but you know, TB is like the big one. And you know, I was thinking about like this, you know, story or this time like with the patient I had, and you know, the guy or you know, the person was like, he was like just super nice, and I would go in there and like the whole family was in there, and their whole family was nice because normally like most of the time like families are very rowdy and like very like, you know, some people aren't very understanding, especially like when you're working in like medicine, and like it sucks because when I see that stuff, because like people can be like very like shitty, right? And like I get it, some patients have like just kind of like all over the place because like I specifically remember this day, and like, you know, there was like this one guy who just he had cancer, and there were like I think he just got like diagnosed or something like that, and you know, like I would go in and help him, you know, kind of guide him to the restroom because he was able to walk like with a walker, and like I just had to like watch him to get up and like go in there and like wait for him to finish and get him back to his bed or chair. And like, you know, the family in there was super appreciative of me helping them, and like most of the time people aren't really like that. I mean, there's a good amount, but like some people aren't, right? And you know, like this guy was like super nice and all that stuff, and like, you know, the family was there. The family was like very sweet to me, and I remember like he ended up calling my phone, calling the thing, or like, you know, like when people call, like they'd use their remote, and then like, because I would have like a phone on me and like I'd answer, and they'd like, yeah, he's like, I need to go to the restroom or whatever. Took him to the restroom, and like, you know, I and like and like when I took him, like, you know, coming back, like he was kind of like he was a little like all over the place. Like he was like, he's like, oh, he tried to like go out like the other way. Like he tried to leave his room. He's like, I gotta go that way because that's where my chair is. I'm like, no, it's the other way. He's like, what? No. And he's like, all right. And like he went in there, and he's like, he listened to me, and he was like, kind of like, he was kind of a little all over the place. I just assumed he was just really tired because he's been up all night. And I'm like, that was strange. That was kind of weird. Because he wasn't like that at all. Like the whatever. And I just kind of like talked to him as something else, right? And like before, because, you know, he was ANO times 4 and like that kind of thing. And he was like talking to me, like conversating with me and that kind of stuff. And he was, you know, I don't know. And then I just remember the next second, I ended up getting a call from another patient, and then I go into his room, and he's like, I don't know, he just had COVID, and he was fine. He was able to get up and walk, and he kept talking to me. He was just like complaining like how shitty it was and all that stuff. I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like, it sucks. Like, it sucks being in the hospital, but like he was in there because he had COVID and like something else. I don't remember what it was, but I was like, all right, dude. Okay, and he was like, him and his wife started complaining about like I've never been in a hospital like this before, and like you hear that all the time, like where they're not like coming in here talking to us nonstop. And I'm like, yeah. And for me on that day, I had like 13 patients, so it's like I normally try to spend my time with people who can't fucking move in their beds and can't really communicate, because they're the people that you need to watch. Because like if that guy's talking, he can call you, right? And like you don't really have to go in and check on him. Because that's, I'd mainly check the people that are like fucking dying, right? And like I just like, what the fuck? And then like they were just like yelling at me, and like I was like, okay, and I left. And then the next moment, then they ended up I guess that guy called again, and the nurse for that patient was like they called in like a stroke protocol. So that's when like people would come in, and like you have to like have like the critical care team come in and like check them out, like whoever's on it. Like I think it's like a hospitalist normally, and like some other people, like respiratory people, and then labs and all that stuff. And I heard that happen. I was like, oh shit. And then like I go in there, and the guy was seizing. People are saying he had a stroke, but like mainly like like if you see a seizure, because like I knew the guy was off, right? And it's like when he was trying to like explain it, but like when I saw him the first time, he was just doing weird stuff. Then he actually started having a fucking seizure, and I was just like, okay, dude. I was like, okay, not okay, dude. I was like, holy shit. I was like, all right. And then like I've seen seizures before because I worked at a neurology clinic, and like you'd see people with seizures sometimes because they have like EEGs there. And I was just like, he was doing the thing, because normally like when people have seizures, they tend to look at one side, and when they can't stay there, their eyes roll a certain way and that kind of thing. But I mean, there's a combination of like other things with like seizures. It really depends. Like people can have like epilepsy where they just zone out and they don't know where they are for the 5 minutes, and their brain's fried after like a few minutes. But like this guy was having like an actual not grand mal. It was just like why can't I think right now? My brain is turned off. But he was just having a seizure, like where he was like kind of over the side, and but he wasn't moving. It wasn't a grand mal seizure. But like I was like, I don't know, one of the nurses was like, he's having a stroke. I'm like, no, he's having a seizure. That looks like a seizure. A stroke wouldn't look like that. Like, I'm like, he's able to move his arm. His arms are like moving fine, and they're not like whatever. Because like when people have strokes, it's like they're limp, right? Because I've seen people with strokes and they're just absolutely limp on one side, or it just really depends where the stroke happened. But they, he was seizing, and then I ended up like getting his like they just had me get his like glucose, and that was it. I didn't really have to do anything else. And and like originally that guy was, I think he was there for I'm trying to remember what kind of cancer it was. I think it was lung cancer, and he got diagnosed with that because I think they did a lung biopsy on him. But they're waiting because it was like it metastasized in other places. So it was in other places originally. So the guy ended up, he was supposed to leave with his family later that day, and I was talking to him all day. It was fucking nuts. And then he was supposed to go get an MRI brain, because normally when you have like especially because with lung cancer is one of the cancers, like it can metastasize to your brain because how close it is. Lung cancer, anything up there, like So you see lung cancer and like breast cancer, like probably the most common. You'll see that metastasize to some sort of like to your brain or whatever. But yeah, no, he got his MRI, and then he did, the brain thing, and I was just like, he was supposed to leave that day to go. He was supposed to get discharged once he got the results of the MRI. Like, no matter what, like, even if it was like bad news, right? But it turns out like his MRI came back, and it was, he had tumors all in his brain. So like, normally when you see metastatic disease in the brain, it's like, it looks like Swiss cheese, so it's like kind of all over the place. And you could see like on the MRI, it looks different as compared to if it was like, like a glioblastoma, meningioma, anything short, astrocytoma, like any type of like brain cancer. But that's not brain cancer because it was metastatic, like lung cancer. And then like, the next second, because like this was like near the end of my shift, I think it was like 2, because I was dealing with those other people that were like calling constantly, like, because like I had anxiety and I just had to go check on him. And like, he was fine. I was like, all right, dude. And then like, I'm like, I have a guy that's fucking seizing down the hallway. I'm like, just relax. I mean, I didn't say that, but I just listened to him. But in my head, that's how it was going. I'm like, And later on, the family came by, and they, the guy wasn't the same. He was like about to die the next moment. Like, it was nuts. I mean, it was like, fuck, like that. And that one still bothers me because like, I like knew he was a little off, but it was hard to like chalk up that if that was a seizure or not, because like he was old, and he was up all night. He had cancer, so I was just kind of just chalked it up like, he's just really tired. He's like, I remember him telling me, he's like, I want to take a nap, and like, but he was like missing the chair and all that stuff, and I was assuming that. And like, he was seizing when I saw him the first time because he was in a state of not being able to like recognize where he was, but it was hard to like differentiate those. But he came back, he got like his scan, and he ended up having like, the tumors. And then the next moment they put him on comfort care, and like the family was all there. I remember I was like, shit. And dude, I went home and I went in my car and I was fucking crying. Cause like, that was like the first time that I felt like that, because I was just like, shit, like I feel like I fucked up, because like, but I mean, even if he was having a seizure, like I can't do anything about it. Even during that time, like, you can't stop somebody from having a seizure, right? And that's like, whatever. And they put him on comfort care, and I don't know what happened after that. So normally what comfort care means is that they're gonna die, right? That's what comfort care is. So they stopped giving them medications. It's like hospice, right? They send them to hospice and that kind of thing. And I ended up, because when I clocked out, I was walking by, and then like they have a room full of people, and all the people, and like it was his family. There was like 10 people in there, and they were just like all crying because it's their dad, and like, and I just remember I just saw her daughter, his daughter tried to like say hi to me or like thank me, and I was just like, I had to keep walking because it was just like they had too much stuff, because I was like kind of far away, and like I didn't know what to say, because I was like super fucking sad. Like, I was sad because that was like the first time I've ever like had a patient like that like get to me. And like, he was just super kind guy. The family was very kind, and like a lot of people in healthcare aren't like that. But like, and I went to my car and I was just fucking crying. Like, I was like, shit. It was a lot. That was a lot. And like, that wasn't the first time I've seen him, but it was just like, sometimes patients like just hit you fucking hard out of nowhere, right? And and it was just like, it's a weird thing that happened. And I was like, well, what could I have done better? That kind of thing. And that still kind of gets to me today. And it's like it's like more of like a thing to make me realize like it's just like, And I don't want to make a mistake like that again where, like, you know, I want to recognize everybody's issues and try to get it all done, you know, try to get, like, hear everything, hear their whole story kind of thing. And that was like, that was, you know, that kind of thing. And then, like, I go back and I, like I'm talking about, like, that girl that I went to the gym, she's telling me a story like that, and I hear stories from my friends like that where, like, oh, like, work sucked, oh, these people keep contacting me and they make me want to do my job type of thing. And I'm like, dude, I'm like, it's not that bad. I'm like, it's not the end of the world. And I'm like, the worst thing that's happened to me is, like, fucking patients dying at my work. Like, I had like 3 patients die one day on me, and I was just like, that's not that bad, dude. I'm like, and especially when that girl was telling me that stuff, and, like, I, you know, we ended up starting talking because she was just, like, kind of like, she was being fucking weird. And it was just that girl was, like, a whole different story. She, like, was, she told me, she's like, you inspired me to get my master's. However, like, I kind of want to see you still, but then I'm also talking to my ex type of thing. And I'm like, I don't know. I kind of stood up for myself. Like, I'm not dealing with this shit. Like, you know, I don't want to be, I'm not dragged along like that, whatever. That fell out. Person was kind of shitty, whatever. And then, you know, I kind of knew that, but, like, I just gave her a chance because we had some stuff in common. But yeah, and I go back and I think of stories, because that's not the only story that's happened like that, but it's like, I think about something like that and, like, shit. And, you know, I mean, there's other stories, but this one's, like, a little bit further back as compared to, like, more recent ones. The more recent ones I would probably talk about, like, in a few years or so, but yeah. So next time, you know, like, when you're complaining about your job like that, it's not that bad, right? And I'm like, I can say the same thing. Like, I see people in their worst states possible, and people that are about to die, and it's hard to, when I hear stuff when people are complaining like that, and, you know, I have my own issues, right? And I'm like, I get that, like, but I'm dealing with them, and, like, you could deal with it. Like, go see a therapist, go see somebody to talk about, because you shouldn't be trauma dumping, or not trauma. I mean, of course, trauma dump if you're feeling bad, but you shouldn't be, like, expressing emotions like that to someone, I guess. And, like, and it's good, like, therapist, psychiatry, like, you know, like, why wouldn't you want to see somebody for your brain? Because people's brains act differently, and that's the thinking mechanism, because people think that's not, you know, right? But, I mean, like, you see a doctor if your fucking your arm's hurting, or you're like, why wouldn't you see him if you're not thinking correctly? Because, like, there's a difference between yourself and your mind. Your mind's a fucking organ, so, like, you could differentiate between the two. So I'm just saying that. But yeah, but, you know, I'm gonna go do legs, gonna continue doing my stuff, but, you know, I will see you later. Bye.